Hi, I'm Jonas Hummelstrand. Let me show you how you can create a CasparCG template complete with video, audio, and text. Let's start in After Effects. This is what we're creating. It's a background with two text fields and an audio. And this is the in animation. We want the lower third to stop there and then have an out animation that we can control from the CasparCG client. The background here is of course totally transparent, will not be part of the rendering, and the name will of course be able to change that in the CasparCG client later. To keep this simple and easy to understand, let's start by just creating a Flash template with just the name fields, and then we'll go back and add the video and audio later. I'll also show you how to render everything like that, but let's start in Flash. If you've installed the FT generator that's downloadable via CasparCG.com, you'll have all these templates added. I'm creating a PAL template here and widescreen with 50 frames per second in fields, so I'm choosing that. We can actually see what the template has just created. You can see a couple of layers, and let's start by looking at the document properties. In the document properties, you can see the document is 1024 by 576. If you're familiar with the newer document sizes for PAL, you're probably familiar with 1050 times 576. It really doesn't matter. The Flash producer will actually scale this when it's played with the CasparCG server. You can also see the background color. You can change to whatever color you want. It's just for viewing purposes. It's not actually rendered in the output. So also it's 50 fields per second, 50 frames per second, which will actually be rendered as 50 fields per second in CasparCG server. If we click the make default, you can have all these properties set as default for your next document. So let's create a couple of text fields and get that to play in CasparCG server. What we've got here is two layers that the template provided. Both are locked actually, so you can't really use them right now. Let's create a new layer, pull that all the way to the bottom, just like Photoshop. It's rendered from the bottom and up. Double click it to change the name. Let's call it text. Let's go back to After Effects and see what we need to create. Let's just select the name layer here and see what we have. Checking the character palette, you can see that it's called Comic Axis, regular 36 points. Let's see the title field as well. It's grayscale basic, bold italic 36 points. So let's just create a new text field. Just click the text tool, make sure the text layer is selected, and just click. So let's just type here something, test of the dude. Whatever. As you can see, whoa, this text layer is actually not wide enough. Just zoom out there. So let's just enlarge it and move it somewhere, and let's just make it even longer, so in case you actually input a long text. Something that's really important here is to go to the properties palette and first change the font, of course. It's outside the screen here, but let me show you. Comic Axis. It's actually even 36 points, just as we wanted, and make sure it's all white. Let's make sure we have a drop shadow on this to make it stand out from the background and from whatever video we'll play behind it. So let's just click down here and add a drop shadow, and you'll get this default setting. I think it's a bit too heavy for me. Let's blur it a bit more and lower the strength here, 70% or something like that. Now that we have a basic look for this, let's make sure this is dynamic, meaning that whatever you input in the CasparCG client, Flash played in the CasparCG server will actually show that. Let's go to the properties and make sure dynamic text is selected. Otherwise, you won't be able to input something. If you choose static text, it'll be the same text that you actually type here inside Flash. So dynamic text. Also, there's something called instance name on top. So this is sort of a way of addressing this exact field. So normally we use F0 for the first field, You'll see later that this is what CasparCG client actually suggests. You can put whatever you want here, but let's just call this F0, and this will be the address. So the correct text will be input into the correct field. So this is called F0. It's a dynamic text. It's got correct font and drop shadow. But we need another line of text for the title. I'm just copying and pasting and get the same thing here. If you look up in the Properties tab, you'll see that actually both these fields have the same address, the same instance name. They're both called F0. If you send in something in CasparCG client, both these fields would get the same text. So we need to select the lower one and change that to F1 or whatever you want, but let's keep it to F1. Also, something we need to change is the font here. It was supposed to be grayscale basic. And it was supposed to be bold italic. So let's just move that up a bit, tighten it up a bit. So now we have two text fields, one for name and one for the title. If all we were trying to achieve was to create two static text fields that could be updated via the CasparCG, then we would just be done now. But we would like to have an in animation and an out animation as well. And to make this easier for ourselves, let's try to group these two into one single keyframe and create something that Flash calls a movie clip, which is actually sort of a scene within a scene. So let me show you how to group both of these text lines into a single movie clip. Start by selecting both and then going up to the Modify menu. Choose Convert to Symbol, and the symbol type here is movie clip, so that's pre-selected. Choose movie clip and then give it a new name. Let's call it texts. Take both these layers and then put them into a movie clip called texts. If you go to the library panel, you can see we now have a movie clip called texts. Both these layers now move as one unit. If we double click on it, we can actually go in and edit each individual line. So just double click. You can see up here we're inside the movie clip called texts, which is inside scene 1. If we click in scene 1, we get back to the main scene. You can also double click on the library menu and open it up. And as you can see, we can access each layer individually. Just click on them to go back to scene, and now we have the entire clip, the movie clip that moves as one. So let's start by creating the in animation and the out animation. Let's make sure we're in the first frame. Click on the layer, go to the Properties panel, and down in Color Effect, there's a style. It sounds weird to have it called Color Effect, but here's something called Alpha. So choose that, and as you can see, if you move that around, we sort of can change the alpha of the object we've selected. So let's start with 0. So make sure the first keyframe we're already on has an alpha of 0. So how can I now increase this to become 100 instead? Let's go to the next part. We know this is a 50 frames per second project. So let's try something around 30 frames or something like that. So let's put it here. So just right click at 30 frames. And make sure you click on the right layer and choose Insert Keyframe. So what we see, nothing really happened. We still have a sort of an invisible layer here with alpha 0. Click on the layer again and change the alpha to 100. So if we scrub here, we see it's 0 on this layer. It's 0. If we go all the way to 30 frames, suddenly it pops on, becomes 100% alpha. So how do we sort of create an animation between these two? This is called tween in Flash. We'll select the first and the last keyframe, right click and choose Create Classic Tween. And what you see now, we have an animation where it goes from 0% to 100%. Another option would be to even move the clip, or in this case, the text. So if we start at the first keyframe, let's just hold down Shift and move this text a bit. And then, as you can see, now we change the first keyframe, so of course it starts moving as well. So both the transparency and the position is changed. Let's undo that. We just want the animation of the alpha and not the position. So how do we have an out animation as well? We have an in animation, but we need to have a nice mix when we remove the lower third. We actually do the same thing. Let's go to the next frame, frame 31. Make sure you right click on it and you're on the correct layer. Insert keyframe. Nothing changed really, as you can see. But what we want to do is let's say have 20 frames out animation. So right click on frame 50, make sure you're on the correct layer, and insert keyframe. And same thing, nothing happens, both keyframes are the same. So here's something to watch out for. Seems like you have the layer selected, but the Properties tab is actually showing something else. You can't find the style in the alpha. That's because it looked like the layer was selected, but actually the keyframe was selected. So you need to make sure you click on the object and then choose the alpha animation. So I have in animation and out animation. You can view these by hitting return, which will show Flash playing through them. But right away we can see there's something wrong. We want CasparCG server to stop at frame 30, showing the text in the background, and wait for your next command. Right now it's in animating and out animating at the same time. So if you click on the actions layer that the template created, it's actually locked, but if we unlock it and go to frame 30 where we want the animation to stop. So you want to stop at frame 30 and wait for the CasparCG client for you to tell the Flash template to be removed. So choose frame 30 and insert blank keyframe. We want something blank. You could choose insert keyframe here as well. It doesn't really matter, but nothing really happens. You can't see any difference. What we need to do is actually tell Flash to, at frame 30, when the playhead gets here, it needs to stop. We do this by inserting a real small piece of code in the actions palette. If you click over here and you write something lowercase, let me show you timeline. Make sure you have the keyframe selected and go over to the actions frame. If you can't see the action frame or the action palette, it's available in the window menu. So lowercase, write stop, start parenthesis, end parenthesis, and a semicolon. If we go back to the timeline, you can see there's actually a lowercase a on the keyframe showing there's an action or a code. So if you click on the keyframe and go back to actions panel, you can see there's what we wrote earlier called stop. So what will happen is actually the playhead will stop here. So now we need to tell the CasparCG server that this particular stop has a name, and we'll give that a name or a label. The name is outro. So if you type out outro when you have the keyframe selected, that way the CasparCG client will know that when you hit stop in the CasparCG client, you will actually start playing from this actual keyframe. What you need to do as well is put a stop at the end of the entire animation. So insert a frame like we did before, right clicking, choose insert keyframe, and there we go. So we do the same thing we did last time. Go back to actions, right, lowercase, stop, start parenthesis, end parenthesis, semicolon, and hit return. So now we have two stop frames, one on frame 30 and one on frame 50 where we will stop. This is all we need to do actually to have this play out. So let's save and then bring forward the FT generator panel. There's another tutorial showing how to do that, how to install it. So let's start by docking it, and the first time you use it, you'll need to type out your name and your email address. This data will be stored inside the template. You can have info about this particular template as well, but So the in animation, stopping, waiting for the command, and then going to the out animation, and we're done. Go to the FT generator and click this symbol, and it will generate this entire template. As you can see on the output panel, it's called the same thing. The FT file generated is called the same thing as our Flash file, demo.bg. So let's go to the CasparCG server, and where I've copied this FT file, and now we're actually on the server. So we need to put this in the correct place. The standard installation place is in the C drive in the folder called CasparCG, and these are the files that are I've already placed on the server. Just to show you, in the _media folder you can place QuickTime files that can be played as well by the CasparCG server. But I've already created a folder here called test, which is where I'll place this newly created FT file. So let's actually open up the client, but first let's also start the server first. There's a video tutorial showing you how to install both the server and the client. So which one to choose? Well, Bluefish and Decklink are both SDI output cards, so they're used for commercial video to output. Full screen uses OpenGL to display to your computer screen, but you wouldn't be able to see the Caspar client then. So let's use the GDI, which is an old Microsoft technique. It doesn't look very exciting, but let's start the CasparCG client. It's really important that you have the server started before you start the client. Otherwise the client might not be able to connect to the server. So make sure the server is started before you start the client. So you can see this a bit better despite the small screen. So if we create a new line back here, click new. Make sure the output for this event line is set to localhost. You can actually go back into settings, and here you can add new servers if you want to control several servers, or you can just add these here and just click the add, and you'll get several servers listed. Let's just remove that and cancel out of it. So let's look at what we have here. This first event, the line is chosen here. We have two different tabs. Graphic template is actually what we call the Flash templates, where you can choose the different folders. You have the test folder that I created there. If we click on pre-rendered graphics tab, this is actually all the QuickTime files, and as you could see earlier, we only have one. But let's try our Flash template. Choose the correct folder and the correct template. Something I want to mention is that this preview area up here is not normally used. So if we click down here and let's populate this newly created template with our data. As you can see, if we click the value, the CasparCG client automatically creates a name called F0, and I mentioned that earlier. That's sort of our default. You can name anything you want, but F0 is what the CasparCG client gives you as a default, so we use that. So I'm just typing something here. The next line title is called F1, if you remember. Just hit enter. To see something here, I need to make this CasparCG window a bit smaller. Just click the load and play, and as you can see in the background there a bit, you can see that load, play, so you see the in animation, and if I click stop, you see the out animation. There's also hotkeys for these things. You can either have them set like I have here, space and escape for quick play and quick stop are the normal ones we use, or just the defaults, which are F9 and F12. So you don't have to click around, you can use the keyboard as well. Let's try to make this a bit smaller so you can see even better. So load and quick stop. So quick load and quick stop. Something that's good to know is you can copy and paste these event lines. So I'm just writing something else on the next line here, just putting in a different name and a different title. Just remember to hit enter, and I use my shortcut keys. So load, let's go over to on air, which actually sort of blocks the text fields, makes it easier to go up and down with the arrow keys. So you can see I have the same template loaded with 2 different value sets. One is called ABC 1, 2, 3, and the other one is our test in CasparCG. So just using the keyboard I can navigate up and down, and right now I just have one template. So let's see if we can add the video and the audio. Let's check here what we had. I'm opening the composition settings and just showing that I'm using the normal PAL DV widescreen, and make sure it's a square pixel with black background. I'll make sure it's all black, otherwise you might get problems. So how do we get this over to Flash? Well, let's start by adding this to the render queue. So which render settings and which output module should we use? Well, I've actually pre-made these. If you go to CasparCG.com/download, all the way down there's something called After Effects settings. Just click and unzip that, and then go back to After Effects. If you go to Edit menu, Templates, and choose Render Settings, down here there's a Load button. So I just chosen the one I downloaded, and OK. Do the same thing with Output Module. Load, choose the one I pre-made. Don't mind the warning there, just click OK. So if we check the render settings, we have a bunch of new presets, and the same with Output Module. So there's one more thing I want to show you before we go ahead and render this and import it into Flash, and that is a way to optimize what we want to bring in. So just close the render queue. As you could see here, there's actually just background on part of the image. So instead of rendering out the entire image, click this button down here called Region of Interest, and just drag out a marquee here showing, sort of encompassing the entire animation. Make sure there's nothing being cut off. So with this region of interest, if we go back to render queue, and if you click, first let's choose the render setting. It's an FLA we're going to create in 50 and interlaced frames per second. So let's choose this. And the output module, it's an FLA we're going to create, Flash, so choose that. But if we click the output module here, we can actually click the crop, and click this Use Region of Interest. You might want to click it twice. So this is the final size we're going to create, 684 by 224. Okay, just click the output to give it a good name and a good place. We want to create the output module for the sound as well, so just click the plus or duplicate the output module and choose Audio Only. And the same thing, give that a good name and place it somewhere on the disk where you can find it. Now we're ready to hit render. Okay, we've rendered and we're back in Flash, so let's try to import this. Let's create a new layer first. Like I did before, pull it all the way back down. So everything is rendered from the bottom and up, so we want the background to be the bottom layer. Let's actually just double click this and give it a good name. Let's call it BG, for BG layer for background layer. Okay, so make sure the layer is selected, go to File, Import, Import to Stage. And the stage is, of course, our sort of main working area. So import to stage, and navigate yourself to the correct folder where you rendered. What you want to do here is find the first file of your file sequence. Make sure you're in the correct folder, and here it's actually called the one called 10. So just make sure you select just the first one, and you see the top one is the audio only. We're going to import that later. So just hit enter. Flash will say, okay, this appears to be part of a sequence of images, and that's perfect. Yes, we do want to import all the images in this sequence. Yes. So this might take a while, so just wait a minute or two, depending on how many frames and how big they are. Once Flash is finished, it looks a bit strange. It looks like we only have one keyframe here, but it's Flash has actually moved the playhead to the last frame, so that's why you can't see anything. As you can see, we have the background here, a number of keyframes each frame of the video. This is a bit strange. As you can see, this is where we're supposed to stop, the outro tag. This is where Flash will stop when we play in CasparCG, but something's really strange. We want it to stop over here somewhere, actually. The background should be in this position and then go out. Let's start by grouping all the video keyframes into a Flash movie clip, and then we can change the timing. So you can do this, make sure you let's go actually to the first keyframe here. So just click the first keyframe on the correct layer, scroll all the way to the last one, hold down Shift and click the last keyframe. Make sure every keyframe in the video layer is selected. What we should do actually is just right click and choose Cut Frames. You can't do it with the edit on the edit menu with cut and paste. When you want to cut or paste keyframes, you have to do it by right clicking. Okay, so I cut all the keyframes. Now I want to paste them into a movie clip. As you can see here in the library panel, you see every frame that we imported earlier. But let's first start by clicking down here and create new symbol and give it a new name. Let's call it BG for background. Make sure the type is movie clip. Don't care about the other ones, just use movie clip. Click OK. So as you can see in our scene on the stage, we have our movie clip called BG for background. So that's where we're in. We have one layer and there's nothing here actually, because we just created an empty movie clip. Make sure you right click on the actual frame, and then make sure you choose paste frames into this movie clip. So as you can see, now we have all the ones let's just zoom out so you can see. Here's every keyframe that we imported earlier, and now they're inside the BG movie clip. So let's go back to scene, click there. So where is everything? Okay, well, we just created the background movie clip, but we haven't pasted it into or placed it into the stage, the scene. So as you can see, here it is. We could just drag it in. I have BG layer selected, so I could just drag it in. And as you can see, there's a keyframe there. Can't see anything, of course, because the first frame of the BG movie clip of the animation, the video, is it's actually empty. So let's start by doing a bit of housekeeping. Select the first of all these image files and the last one by holding down Shift, so everything is selected. Just move to, right click and choose move to a new folder. Let's just call it BG folder. Okay, so that looks a bit better. Inside the BG folder you have every single frame, and all those are of course in the BG movie clip. Okay, as you can see, there's one problem, and this is a problem within Flash. These kind of nested movie clips, we just see the first frame of the movie clip, and that first frame was empty. That's why we can't see it. If we hit return, we can see that everything's playing, but you can't see the video behind. So That's a pity. What we do know is how we created this from After Effects, because we used the region of interest to render just part of the image, and we actually used the bottom of the comp window in After Effects. So we know the bottom of the video is supposed to be for all the way down to the left. So let's move this up so you can see it. We just have one keyframe now, so just move this layer. Only one keyframe. So just move this all the way down here. Doesn't really matter. If we had several keyframes, we would of course be have to move most of them. But right now we're just moving one of them. If you go over to Properties tab, you can actually see the X and Y values. Now, having decimal values isn't very good, of course, and we could manually fix this. But this is something that the FT generator actually takes care of. Optimize images and optimize text fields actually has code that moves things to full pixel values instead of decimal values. So we could fix this manually, but let's not. Let's just let FT generator take care of that. What we need to do here, we want to move the text here, of course. We want that at the bottom as well. Not only the background video, but the text fields. So it was really easy. I could move the video layer because I just had one keyframe, but the text layer I have 4 keyframes right now. So this is an entire movie clip. We're on a keyframe, and that's used for animation of the transparency. If I stand at frame 30 and just move it down there, then you can see what happened. I added a keyframe for the position as well. So either you go to each keyframe and then move the text, but instead let's undo that and instead go into the movie clip and just move the text fields inside the movie clip, and then we won't have to change it out in the scene here. So either double click, and if that's hard or might be difficult sometimes with the Wacom pen, just go to the library panel. So here you see both text fields, just one keyframe here. So just select both and just move them down using the arrow keys and shift arrow. And this should work. Go back to the scene, and as you can see now, everything works. Before we continue, I want to show you a really important part of housekeeping in Flash and making sure that things happen the way we want to when we play this via the CasparCG client and the CasparCG server. And that is to make sure that nested movie clips, just like the one with the video layer back here on this layer here, that they are not present on the first frame. Because what happens when you load in CasparCG client, you click load on any template, the playhead actually starts and is positioned here. And if there's a nested movie clip like the one with the video, remember if you double click here, this movie clip, if that is nested inside the main stage, the main scene, it will actually start playing right away. So when you really don't want that to happen, to have the template start playing just by clicking load. You want it to play first, only when you hit play in the CasparCG client. So how to do this properly is actually to make sure there's no keyframe for all these nested movie clips. So just select this first keyframe and just move it to frame 2 instead. That's all you actually need to do. This way, as you can see down here, the layer is selected. It's not present on the first frame. So it actually isn't loaded until the playhead starts playing, and that's what happens when you press play in the CasparCG client. So if there's something weird with your templates start playing right away when you load them, that's the reason why. So just beware of that and make sure you don't put any keyframes on the first frame. There's another thing I want to show you, and that is a problem you will get into once you get over to CasparCG server. If you hit Control Return, you will export an SWF movie. And just watch the text now. Text animation works fine, but the background keeps looping. This problem actually comes from the looping nature of the movie clip with the video file in it. So let's just close that Control W and hit Control Enter again to see it again. If you look at the text now, the in animation of the text works fine, but the playhead stops, but the background movie clip keeps looping and looping and looping. We have to control this in Flash by putting a stop action script inside the movie clip. If we go back, this is the stop frame 31. It actually stops. If you remember the stop action script, in animation comes and then it stops. So if we open the background movie clip, that's easy to go to the library and just double click the BG movie clip. We can see this actually continues playing. So we need to stop here somewhere just before it starts falling, somewhere around there. Okay, frame 98. So at this place we need actually to stop the movie clip. So let's take every frame before frame 98 and put that in one movie clip and the other ones in a separate movie clip. Hold down Shift, if you remember, just click the first and the last frame, Shift click, so that's the out animation. So just right click and choose Cut Frames. So now in the BG movie clip we only have the in animation. So let's create a new for the out animation, and let's call this BG out and the type is movie clip. So as you can see, we're inside the BG out movie clip. So right click and choose paste frames. Okay, so there's the out animation and just the out animation. Go back to the BG movie clip. Let's double click the name there and call it BG in instead, so we know that that's the movie clip that contains the in animation. So this is the entire in animation and it stops there. So a quick recap, the BG in movie clip contains the in animation and the BG out movie clip contains the out animation. Okay, let's go back to the scene and look. Now what we only have is of course the BG in movie clip. That's the BG in movie clip. Just double click and you can make sure it's the BG in. Go back to the scene. So now we know we have 98 frames. Let's make sure. Double click that. BG in, it goes, yeah, it's 98 frames. So now we need to extend to make sure that we play the entire movie clip, or sorry, that we play the entire in animation before we stop the playhead. So the in animation is 98 frames long. We need to move the, as you can see, that's over here. So previously the whole clip used to be here. So at frame 98 we wanted to stop. So starting by frame 99, holding down Shift and click, whoops, Flash is a bit sensitive in this thing. So hold down Shift and click between the frames. You might find you have to do this several times. Flash is a bit sensitive in this way. So marking this will remove all these frames. So after 99, nothing will be shown. In this way, the in animation will be all the way to frame 98. So we want to show the entire in animation. What we want is to make sure that the stop point, where the playhead actually in the CasparCG server will stop, is also placed over here. So let's mark all these frames, make sure this is the stop, so the entire frame range there and the actions, and move them all the way over here to 99. Okay, let's do the same thing with the out animation and make sure to move that away after the stop point. as you can see, looks like there's an animation in here between. This is the in animation, and then nothing happens, and then the out animation. So there's no real animation in here. So just choose, right click and choose remove tween to make it look like nothing happens, or to actually show that nothing happens. And then at the same time, in the background, the video file is playing, and underneath the text. And then it stops at the stop frame. You can click on the action frame there and go to the actions tab, and you see there's a stop there. So it will play until it reaches the stop frame. Then actually, as a suggestion, let's make sure that we want the playhead to stop on the last frame of the video file in the background. So let's select all those and move both the text out animation and the stop there. So when it stops, you will actually show the last frame of the video background file. So now it will stop there. What we want to do here is now to add the out animation on the background layer. So this background movie clip, which I created before, make sure and drag this here. Oh, you can't do it like that. You have to right click on the frame, choose insert keyframe, and then drag the background out, the movie clip, to the stage, the canvas. So how can I make sure to place this out animation somewhere and to see how this works? What we have to do is to just click. I know the background animation is back there. If you go to the Properties tab, you can actually see where the first background video file is placed. So I use the same values for this new 512.15. Whoops! You gotta use the period instead of the comma key, which is the usual decimal separator in Swedish, so you have to use point instead of comma. Okay, let's click this again, check 638.15, and just click the new movie clip and add the same things there. Okay, so now we know the extra movie clip is placed on the same coordinates as the in movie clip. We want to make sure that this movie clip is, of course, place the entire. So let's just select what looks like the empty frames here. I think the out animation was in total became 140. So just right click and choose insert frame. And now it will actually play out while you can't see this. This out animation is actually a bit longer. So we actually have a problem here. When I moved all these keyframes, you will actually got another new keyframe there. As you can see, it sort of blinked on there. So just make sure and grab this keyframe and actually move it to the last so it doesn't blink on again. So the entire tween or the animation ends with a 0 opacity free keyframe. What I actually could do as well is to make sure that I can animate the position as well. So just click the last keyframe and just use shift and down arrow to move that down a bit. What I also have to remember is this stop frame here. Otherwise it will stop there, so I make sure to move that to the last, after the last keyframe, so the playhead actually stops there. So what happens now, the out animation, as soon as I click stop in the CasparCG client, the server jumps to this outro frame called outro. Whoops, I actually deleted that. Let's put that in again, outro. And then it actually starts playing the out animation. The text falls down while it changes the animation. And the video background from the background layer, what we rendered out of After Effects, plays. So let's make sure, let's add and save this as another name. save the Flash file, and then let's generate the FT CasparCG Flash template file. So it exports the SWF file again, and make sure you can see demo bg video.ft. This way we can separate them when we get back over to the server, both with and without video. So let's go over to Windows again, and I've copied the file there to the CasparCG folder, and in the subfolder called test. As you can see, the one without video was 700K, and the new one is 22 megabytes. So it shows you the added video size. So let's go back to the CasparCG client and go full screen, and then go over to off there so we can change these lines here. If you go to the first line here, go into the test subfolder, you only see the demo BG template there. What we need to do is go up to the Caspar menu and choose Reload Graphic Template List, which actually reloads all the Flash files. Get all those files again. The next issue here is, the next item is if you want to reload the list of video files. Go back to the test subfolder, and you can see now you have both the old one and the new Flash template. So let's choose the demo BG video, go over to on air, and let's make sure it's smaller so you can see, and just load. Whoops, as you can see, actually the video background file seems to work, but the text stays there, and the background file out animates as well. So there's something wrong. We need to put a keyframe inside the background video layer, or in the movie clip of the background video. What actually happens, our text stops, just it says on stop, but in the background layer, in the video file inside the BG in the movie clip, let's open that and see this in animation. Actually, it actually keeps playing, so the last keyframes are actually blank, and then it starts playing again. Best thing to do is create a new layer, rename it Actions or whatever you like, and right click on the same frame as the last frame of the video. Just right click and choose Insert Keyframe. Go over to Actions tab and write Stop, Start End parentheses semicolon, and just a new line after that. Go back to Timeline so you can see there's an A there. The playhead will stop here. It won't actually play everything after the stop. Go back to the main scene, and we actually want to make sure also the same thing is done in the out animation of the background video clip in the BG out. So I just double click that in the library. The same thing there. We want to make sure it stops there and not keeps playing and doesn't loop as well. So another new layer again, call it Actions or whatever you like. Right click, choose Insert Keyframe or Insert Blank Keyframe. Works as well. Go to Actions, write Stop, Start End parentheses semicolon. Just end with a character return there. So that was the same thing there. We wanted to stop and then not loop again. Go back to the main scene. Nothing really different here, but this should work. So let's go over to the FT generator and just click Generate FT file and generate a new file. What actually happens when you click the Generate FT file, that your Flash project is actually saved, so make sure you don't overwrite anything you wanted to save. Just replace the file with a new file on the server, and just click that and load it. Something I wanted to just make sure you know is that Flash files are reloaded from disk every time, so you don't have to reload in the list or anything like that. Whoops. Okay, another problem. Let's play it again. It works. and it stops, and let's the out animation, but you actually see a keyframe. Let's go back to Flash again and see what happened. So let's see what's wrong here. The stop point is there, where it actually stops and wait for you to play. In here it looks like it should work. Let's see what's wrong. I think there might be a problem. This keyframe here, what we're looking at here, I actually think the old layer, the clip of the in animation actually there as well. Well, let's see. I think the easiest way to do this is, unfortunately, click this layer we see, which is the out animation. This object, you can see the blue line around it. Hold down Shift and just move it with arrow keys. Click, whoops, there we see the problem. That is actually a keyframe showing the in animation from the background clip. So just remove that, hold down Shift and use the arrow keys to move those the out animation back again. Okay, let's try this again. Let's generate the FT file and replace the file on the server. Yes, I want to replace that. Okay, and let's load, play. That says dynamic and stop. So we've generated a Flash template with dynamic text fields and video background, which you can play. And then when you have the out animation, it plays. Okay, we're back in Flash. So the only thing remaining now is to add the audio. We're in the scene, on the main stage. Let's go to the beginning here. Well, so my suggestion is to add the audio, which is only in the in animation. There's no audio when it's the lower third is animated out. So let's go to the BG in movie clip, create a new layer. Let's call that audio. Doesn't really matter what you call it, but so make sure the layer is selected and go to, if you choose import to stage, it should actually go to the stage, but it isn't. It won't actually be placed on the stage, so whatever you choose, it will end up in the library. Okay, so but at least make sure the layer is selected and then drag it onto the audio onto the stage there. As you can see, the audio is actually a bit longer than the in animation. This is where it stops actually, so where the stop keyframe is, as you can see, stop action. The audio actually keeps playing. In this case, the audio is actually silent here, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a swoosh in the beginning, so this doesn't really matter. But otherwise, you would get a cut-off stop sound, so you would need to re-edit the audio or do something else. So let's go back to Flash and go to the FT generator and generate new. Place that on the server. Let's try load and play. As you can hear, there's no audio. Let's go to stop, which doesn't have an audio file. So every time you play it, it's played. Okay, there's a lot of steps to create a CasparCG template. Normally you would already have a template created and as a PSD file from Photoshop or whatever. So, but I wanted to show you all the steps if you actually want to embed the audio and video into a CasparCG template. So everything like this, you could find these at CasparCG.com in the forum and in the wiki. So please, if you have any questions, just ask them there. Thank you.